Welcome to our guide on funding your child's braces without losing critical benefits. In this video, we'll unpack timelines, compare savings tools like HSAs and HYSAs, flag public assistance pitfalls, and share practical strategies to maximize coverage and minimize your out-of-pocket costs. To make this easy, we'll move step by step and use diagrams and quick quizzes along the way. Let's begin by previewing what we'll cover. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll set the timeline for when orthodontic treatment usually starts. Next, we'll compare key financial tools, FSA, HSA, and HYSA. Then we'll discuss the public assistance warning, especially how asset limits can affect benefits. After that, we'll show how to increase coverage through employer insurance and medically necessary pathways. We'll also consider an unconventional option, working in a dental or orthodontic office. Finally, we'll leave you with a concrete step-by-step action plan. Before diving in, a quick but important disclaimer is up next. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or medical advice. Before acting, confirm details with your health plan, employer benefits team, state agencies, and a qualified professional such as a CPA or benefits attorney. Program rules, asset limits, and coverage criteria vary significantly by state and change over time. With that established, let's set the stage with the orthodontic timeline. Orthodontic treatment, such as braces and aligners, typically begins between ages 7 and 12. That lead time creates a valuable planning window for families to save strategically. Early planning can reduce stress, widen your choices, and make better use of tax-advantaged tools. As a practical step, consider requesting an orthodontic evaluation by age 7 so you can map out likely timing and cost ranges. Now that we understand the timeline, let's compare the major savings tools available. Let's compare the big three. First, FSAs are generally poor for long-term orthodontic savings because the funds must be used within the plan year or be forfeited, with limited rollover exceptions. Second, HSAs, if you are eligible by enrolling in a high-deductible health plan, offer a triple tax advantage: tax-deductible contributions, tax-free investment growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical expenses. This makes HSAs ideal for multi-year or decade-long savings horizons. Third, high-yield savings accounts, or HYSAs, are straightforward and liquid, and can be a strong alternative when an HSA is not available or advisable. A useful tactic is to automate monthly contributions and label the account, for example, OrthoFund, to keep goals visible. Next, we'll put HSA and HYSA side by side to clarify trade-offs. On the left, HSAs shine for those eligible under a high-deductible health plan. They provide tax-deductible contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualified expenses. They can also be invested for longer-term growth. However, HSAs typically are not compatible with certain public assistance programs. On the right, HYSAs offer simplicity and liquidity with interest, and no special eligibility requirements. The trade-off is that HYSA balances usually count toward asset tests for programs like Medicaid, which can jeopardize benefits if balances exceed state thresholds. With these differences in mind, we'll zoom out and map the overall funding landscape. This mind map centers on braces funding. The branches show the main options: HSAs with eligibility requirements and tax advantages, HYSAs with liquidity but asset limit considerations, employer dental insurance that may cover $1,000 to $3,000 per phase, Medicaid or medically necessary coverage with restrictive and varying criteria, employment-based perks at dental or orthodontic practices, timing that emphasizes ages 7 to 12 as the typical start, and cost planning that includes treatment, retainers, follow-ups, and emergencies. With the map in mind, let's focus on the public assistance warning and asset limits. If you currently rely on Medicaid or other public assistance, you likely cannot use an HSA. While a high-yield savings account can be a straightforward alternative, you must understand your state's asset limits. Regularly building a large cash balance in a HYSA could push you above those limits and jeopardize eligibility. Before automating contributions, check your state's asset thresholds, what counts as an asset, and possible exemptions. To make this concrete, the next diagram walks through a decision flow from eligibility to risk checks. This flowchart begins by asking whether you are on Medicaid or another means-tested benefit. If yes, HSAs are typically off the table. In that case, consider a HYSA, but first check your state's asset cap. If your projected savings will exceed the cap, reduce the accumulation pace and consider alternatives like timing spend downs for qualified expenses, optimizing insurance coverage, and exploring employment-based discounts. If you are not on means-tested benefits, the next step is verifying eligibility for a high-deductible health plan. If eligible, open an HSA, automate contributions, and consider investing for long-term growth. If not eligible, use a HYSA in combination with employer dental insurance to manage costs. Next, we'll talk about maximizing coverage opportunities. To reduce out-of-pocket costs, target strong employer dental insurance, which can contribute $1,000 to $3,000 per treatment phase. Clarify details such as waiting periods, annual maximums, and orthodontic lifetime maximums. For complex or severe orthodontic needs, inquire about medically necessary coverage pathways under state programs. Documentation is crucial. Maintain detailed records of consultations, treatment plans, clinical photos, and referrals to support coverage requests. Now, let's consider a controversial but practical route to affordability. Another pathway is employment within a dental or orthodontic practice. Many employers in this space offer steep discounts or even free orthodontic treatment for staff and dependents. For families facing high costs or asset limit constraints, exchanging time and employment for substantial discounts can be effective. Be sure to ask about benefit specifics, eligibility waiting periods, and whether dependents are included. This can be layered with an HSA or HYSA strategy as appropriate. With options on the table, let's consolidate into a practical step-by-step plan. Here's a practical checklist. First, secure an orthodontic evaluation by around age 7 and request a cost range for planning. Second, determine whether you are on Medicaid or another means-tested benefit. Third, if you are eligible for a high-deductible health plan, open an HSA and automate monthly contributions. Fourth, if an HSA is not an option, open a HYSA and automate smaller, steady contributions. Fifth, confirm your state's asset limits and exemptions, and adjust your HYSA balance accordingly. Sixth, pursue employer dental insurance that includes orthodontic benefits. Seventh, for severe cases, evaluate whether medically necessary coverage may be available under state programs. Eighth, consider employment within a dental office to access staff discounts. Ninth, track all costs including treatment, retainers, follow-ups, and emergency visits. 10th, review and update your plan annually. Next, we'll visualize the multi-year savings timeline. This timeline starts with routine dental care between ages 3 and 6. Around age 7, a first orthodontic evaluation informs planning. Between ages 8 and 10, the focus is on building savings via HSA or HYSA and pursuing employer dental coverage. From about 10 to 12, you finalize the treatment plan and seek pre-authorizations. Between ages 11 and 13, treatment begins and payments are made using a combination of HSA or HYSA funds and insurance coverage. After active treatment, allocate funds for retainers and scheduled follow-ups. Now let's break down typical cost components with a pie view. This pie chart allocates a typical cost distribution. The majority goes to active treatment such as braces or aligners. A smaller portion covers retainers, and another segment covers routine follow-up visits. Emergencies or repairs and miscellaneous costs like records make up the remainder. Your specific distribution can vary by provider, region, and complexity. Next, we'll present a quick checklist table for coverage readiness. Use this checklist to prepare. For employer dental plans, confirm waiting periods, annual maximums, and orthodontic lifetime maximums. For Medicaid or state programs, verify criteria for medically necessary orthodontics and documentation requirements. Check asset limits to understand which assets count and which are exempt. Confirm HSA eligibility via high-deductible plan status and review IRS contribution limits. Identify any pre-authorization forms and timelines. Finally, track all invoices, explanations of benefits, and receipts using a finance app or spreadsheet. With the essentials covered, let's test your knowledge with a short quiz. Question: which tool is generally best for decade-long, tax-advantage saving for braces if you qualify? Options: A, FSA, B, HSA, C, HYSA, D, credit card. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. HSA. Health savings accounts provide a triple tax advantage, making them particularly suitable for long-term saving toward medical costs like braces, provided you are eligible under a high-deductible health plan. Question: if you're on Medicaid and save aggressively in a HYSA, what is the biggest risk? Options: A. Lower interest rates. B. Exceeding state asset limits and losing benefits. C. Early withdrawal penalties. D. Locked funds for a year. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. Exceeding state asset limits and losing benefits. In many states, HYSA balances count toward asset tests for means-tested programs. Exceeding the threshold can affect eligibility, so monitoring balances is critical. Let's clarify myths and facts. First, FSAs are not suitable for multi-year saving because they're typically use it or lose it. Second, HSAs are more than a savings account. They offer a triple tax advantage and can be invested. Third, HYSA balances may count toward asset limits for means-tested benefits, so they need monitoring. For organization, you can manage your plan with a simple Markdown checklist, including milestones like the orthodontic evaluation, verifying HSA eligibility, reviewing asset limits, comparing employer plans, and automating monthly contributions. To cement the takeaways, we'll now recap the key points. The key takeaways are: start early because treatment often begins between ages 7 and 12. Use an HSA if eligible or a HYSA as a fallback. If you rely on public assistance, monitor asset limits carefully. Maximize insurance coverage and consider employment-based discounts. And maintain a step-by-step plan that you revisit each year. Finally, let's conclude with a brief summary and your next steps. To conclude, you often have several years to prepare for orthodontic expenses, so use that time wisely. Choose the right saving tool. Prefer the HSA if eligible, or use a HYSA carefully if assistance rules apply. Leverage employer dental insurance and investigate medically necessary pathways where applicable. Consider employment in a dental office for significant discounts. Keep thorough records and revisit your plan each year. To end, I'll share a quick thank you and how you can support the channel. Thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, please like the video, share it with another parent who might need it, and subscribe for weekly insights. We'd love to hear your approach in the comments. What's your plan for funding orthodontic care while protecting benefits? See you in the next video.